Again, my guest tonight is Judy Kane from Aligned Consciousness. And tonight we're talking about helping people break through their self-limiting beliefs. So Judy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Great. Judy and I connected recently. We got connected through a mutual friend and have had some conversations. And I'm so glad we get a chance to talk a little bit about this really important topic tonight about how self-limiting beliefs hold people back and how it kind of impacts people both personally and professionally. So I'm really looking forward to asking you some questions tonight as you share your story.
Okay.
So I want to welcome everybody tonight. Thank you so much for joining. Each week I host a Facebook Live that is specifically designed to help provide information around various leadership and career topics and designed to help you show up more professionally and energetically in your lives and in your careers. Just as a bit of housekeeping rules tonight, if you have any comments as things come up, please feel free to put them in the comment box. If you like something, hit the like button. If you love it, hit the love button. If something wows you, hit that button as well. And then we'll certainly have some time toward the end for some Q&A. And if you are looking for a great free resource, I have one on my website. It's called 3 Steps to Creating Your Next Advancement Opportunity Without Feeling Overwhelmed. You'll go to my website, click on that link. You'll confirm your email subscription, and that'll put you into my email community. You'll also get the workbook. And each week, as Judy recently found out, I email everybody 3 times a week around various leadership and career topics. So again, welcome everybody. It's great to see so many people in the room tonight. It's nice that we get to do a Thursday evening Facebook Live because typically it's been on Wednesday afternoons. I'm changing that up a little bit. So Judy, let's get right into this. And
Okay.
So if you could, for our listeners tonight, tell us about yourself and tell us how you actually came to creating aligned consciousness for your business.
Okay. Well, it's an unlikely path, probably, to most people. I was in IT management for decades. And then I was a realtor for about 5 years. But somewhere in that process, I learned how to do PSYCH-K. And once I had gotten comfortable with it, I decided I would like to do that for a business because it gives me a lot of joy. It's a lot happier work than either of my prior 2 professions. And, you know, at the end of the day, I can really see where I've made an impact.
So just to stay on that for a second. So when you talk about how having your own business and using PSYCH-K to help your clients, and it gives you this a sense of joy that you haven't had before, what's so different about your work now as opposed to when you were a realtor and an IT professional?
Oh, gosh. Obviously, you have accomplishments in anything that you do. But with this one, you can see people who come in that are so frustrated or really in distress or stress about situations in their lives. And in many cases, you can see their facial expression. It's different when they leave than when they come in. You know, they frequently feel better. It's a real obvious change in many cases. Some things are behind the scenes and I don't see that, but many things you can notice right in that hour.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we share a similar profession in that we do get a lot of joy from helping our clients and helping them move forward. So absolutely. So Judy, we're talking tonight about self-limiting beliefs, and I'm hoping right now, if you could, is just define what that is and what that looks like for people.
Sure. And I work with people with subconscious self-limiting beliefs. So a lot of times your conscious mind doesn't even know what's going on in the subconscious. But if you have a self-limiting belief, it's a belief that's keeping you from reaching your full potential. You know, a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, that's just the way I am. Well, you know, or I've never been any good at that, or nobody in my family has ever been good at XYZ, whatever it is. And that's a limiting belief. You're not giving yourself a chance. And frequently people's self-talk is much more negative than cheerleader. And so it's not helping people expand and grow and do things that they would prefer to be doing.
And do you find that these subconscious self-limiting beliefs are just reinforced over time. So by the time a client comes to you, there's a lot of work, quote unquote, to say that needs to get undone.
It can be. They come for so many different reasons. Some people come when they have been working on an issue for a great deal of their life, and they've done a lot of work, but they just haven't quite gotten to the place they want to be. Others, it's the first time they've tried to get phobias, for instance. People think if they have a phobia that they just have the phobia, and that's just the way they need to live life.
Right.
And those are actually one of the easiest things, in my experience, to help people with.
So you mentioned about PSYCH-K, and I know when we first met, I wasn't familiar with it. So for our listeners, could you tell us a little bit about what PSYCH-K is?
Sure. It's a set of processes and principles that is designed to help people change subconscious beliefs. It started in the 80s. It's being practiced in maybe not Antarctica, but the rest of the continents. I know they've had workshops in all the rest of the continents. So I assume people are using it where they've learned it. And it's, you use muscle testing to communicate with the subconscious. And you basically are getting people into a whole brain state, which does not mean that they're other than fully awake and aware. But it's just in a place where it's easier to change those subconscious beliefs.
Got it. And how did you come to learn about PSYCH-K?
Well, my former husband and I had a friend that I hadn't been exposed to much energy work, so I was unfamiliar with most. I didn't disbelieve, I just didn't have any exposure to most energy work. My first exposure to seeing how powerful it could be was not with PSYCH-K, but it was a little earlier than that. And this friend helped my husband get rid of an excruciating pain he'd had for days in his back. And I was stunned because she took him off in a corner and he came back 10 minutes later and he didn't hurt anymore then or after. Mm-hmm. So that kind of was like, well, that's really interesting. And then a few years later, I saw this same friend using PSYCH-K, and I was watching and it just resonated with me. It was something I could clearly do. It was process, and I'm kind of a process and data person coming from IT. You didn't need to channel special gifts or do anything like that. And it's really effective and fast. You can change most single beliefs in less than 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So just to share a quick story with everybody, when Judy and I first connected, she was kind enough to share a little bit with me and extend a PSYCH-K session to me. And at the time, one of the things I was really struggling with was really feeling very frustrated that I wasn't having very productive mornings. I would oftentimes start my day and feel like by the time lunchtime hit, I was already behind the 8 ball on things that I wanted to get done for the day. And this, Judy, we had our session, about 3 weeks ago?
Maybe a little longer. But
yeah, maybe a little longer than that. And one of the biggest takeaways that I personally found from it was that my mornings are so much more intentional now. So, I still make my to-do list the night before, but there's an opportunity now for me to be really more intentional, and at the same time to also extend a little bit of grace that if I don't get everything done on my to-do list, that there's still time in the day for me to do that and to take a little more time for me. So Judy, I just want to let you know that's still working pretty good. So thank you.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to share that. So tell us a little bit about what particularly happens in a PSYCH-K session for anyone who's interested.
Sure. Well, if we talk beforehand, we kind of talk about some things they can do to prepare to come in. If the things that they want bring up emotions that they don't like, if they feel anxious about doing a certain type of activity, or if there's just, general stress or grief or the phobias or, things like that, If they can bring those emotions up, it's good to have a list of what those are to work with. Otherwise, we end up with statements, affirmation style statements about what the person wants to be true. So if they can work on that ahead of time, we can kind of just go over them real quickly. And then frequently we can just start with the list and start rewriting those, one at a time, rewriting the beliefs. If they don't come in with that, then that's okay. We just spend time up front to develop what that is so that we know what we're working with. And muscle test with to communicate with the subconscious. Mm-hmm. And we also muscle test to figure out what the best way is to change that particular belief. So there are many ways that you can go about this. So it's never the same, but it's frequently getting into some sort of a posture that enhances being whole-brained. Okay. So yeah, and then you do the PSYCH-K process, and then you muscle test to make sure it's changed, and then you go to the next one.
And so Judy, it would seem like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but that depending on the client and depending on how deep some of those subconscious self-limiting beliefs may be, the process could take a little bit of time, correct? In order to kind of bring that.
And some situations, most situations are a combination of multiple beliefs. Mm-hmm. So you don't usually have one belief statement that covers a whole situation that's something you've been trying to work on for years.
Right. And so fair enough to say that as you're working with people across multiple sessions, there's opportunities to touch base and check in with how well they're reinforcing the affirmation, holding on to those, doing the muscle test that you talked about, just to kind of keep reinforcing the affirmations that you worked with your clients on, correct?
I don't usually go back and check things we've changed. What happens is people will have a session, and I encourage them to go back and just see how things are now. Mm-hmm. They've changed a lot. Things might look very different. So then they reevaluate what's important to change next.
Mm-hmm. And so in general, when you work with somebody, like typically how long do you work with them for?
That can vary, but it's frequently that, people will come for 1 or 2 sessions to get rid of something that's top of mind for them. They might come back and, months later to change something different or to go deeper into the thing that they changed. Or some people like to have it on a regular basis because there's always stuff. I've been doing this since 2011 and I have not gotten to the bottom of my list yet. I use it, real time with me anytime. So yeah, there's always stuff.
Right. No, absolutely. And so now that we've kind of covered the basics in terms of what PSYCH-K is, who it helps, what kind of goes on in a session, in your experience, Judy, how does one's subconscious self-limiting beliefs hold people back from, and I always like to say showing up professionally and energetically, but from showing up as their optimal self?
So there are lots of things that can hold people back. I frequently see people for professional goals. And so they can have sometimes it can be all about money, that there's this thing about you're not supposed to have more than a certain amount of money. Maybe it's not safe. Maybe money's the root of all evil. And, who knows what anybody has particularly, but there's this, a lot of times there's not deserving the money, or it's not safe to have more money than you need, or something like that, which can hold back entrepreneurs a lot. If you're in a more of a corporate setting, there can be fear of being visible, of being judged. So you don't volunteer stuff that you can say. You can have a subconscious belief that people don't have a high opinion of you, and then you will, be reacting to something that's, that you've made up. Mm-hmm. But I had a client that came in a few months ago. He was not happy in his job, and he didn't like the atmosphere in the job, basically. And he wanted to change that. He really wanted to improve where he was. But we did statements about deserving to be in a supportive environment or being appreciated in the job and being challenged in the job, things that he wanted to be true that he was not experiencing. And it was about 6 weeks later, he texted me, and he out of the blue, he had gotten a new job, different company, just as happy as he could be. It was exactly what he had hoped for. So knowing that you deserve to have these things can help change you and help you get those things.
Yeah, and it sounds like it is such transformational work for people, how they you really have that kind of impact to help them change their lives in some way to make it better.
Yeah, the anxiety of people who are in sales who have to do cold calling or something, or speaking in public. That's a huge fear that some people have, and it's an anxiety. And that's all stuff that it's beliefs that are causing that emotional reaction, and you can change those.
Yeah, and we know too that public speaking is one of the biggest fears that people often have. As a former educator, I don't think we always make it the most comfortable experiences when we're in school. We're like, just stand up and give a presentation, and all of a sudden, we don't recognize how stressful that can be for some.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. All right. So we still have a bunch of people here in the room, which is great. You want to take a couple questions?
Sure.
Sure. Yeah. So if anybody has any questions, please go on ahead, type those comments in, and we'll give people a moment. And so, Judy, while we're waiting for some questions, tell us a little bit about your company.
All right. Well, I'm a solopreneur, so my company is me. But yeah, I see people virtually and I see people face to face. I'm in the Tampa Bay area, and but I have clients that literally in all over the world. I've had clients because I use Zoom and can work with people from anywhere. That's what aligned consciousness does. I have clients that come in for all sorts of things, either the big emotions or the goals or physical symptoms of stress, because the stress is caused by beliefs. And so if you can change the beliefs, the stress can go away. And if the stress goes away, then the symptoms can go away. So it's been very effective with some things that people just consider to be purely physical.
Yeah. Absolutely. So Jennifer's chiming in here. She wants to know, how long is a typical session?
An hour.
Okay. All right. And in a quote unquote perfect scenario, Judy, how much pre-work might a client need to do before coming to that initial session with you?
They don't have to come in with anything,
okay.
But if they don't, then we spend time generating the statements in the session. If they come in with some statements about what they would like to be true, then we can just start with the changes. So but they don't have to have anything that they come in with.
Got it.
And I'd like to add that with PSYCH-K, it's a really good modality to work with people who have trauma, because they don't need to know where that came from, or if they know, they don't need to tell me, because I don't need to know.
Okay.
So it's a very gentle way of getting rid of some really uncomfortable emotions that people have.
Got it. Great. Thanks for the question. See if anybody else has another question that's in here. I'll give them a few more seconds to type something in. So Judy, we got your website up on the screen right now, so people can go to alignedconsciousness.com, and which is nice and easy. When I work with clients too, and it's like sometimes an easy website to remember is kind of easy. So it's great. It's great to see there. And so as we move to conclude the interview tonight, Judy, and I asked Judy a question by email a little before we started. I'm like, what's your favorite game show? And she's like, I don't have one. So what I like to say at the end here, Judy, we're going to try this, is we're just going to move into the bonus round here, okay?
Okay.
We're going to move into the bonus round. And while there is no like big money cash prizes or anything like that, in the bonus round, what I'm going to ask you is this. It's one final question as we wrap up tonight. If there is one thing that you could tell people out there that, based on your experience, could help them show up more professionally and energetically, or could transform their lives in some way based on the work that you do, the experiences that you've had? What would you want to tell people?
I'd like them to recognize that what they see in their life is all related to their beliefs about their life. And so if they're seeing things that are not the best, it's not exactly what they would like, they have the power. You know, you can change the way you're perceiving these things, and then your experience is different. So I would encourage everybody not to just say, well, I've just got a sucky life and that's the way it is. You know, I mean, there are things you can go out there and change to make yourself happier.
Sure. So we got a couple more questions in here. So do you notice a health difference in your clients?
If they come in for something that's health related, and certainly if they're dealing with things that are stress related, stress can cause so many symptoms. But a lot of times people will come in with something like migraines or mobility issues. And those are things that we can kind of see an immediate difference in. It's weird that it's that big of a connection between mind and body. You know, I had a client come in with sciatica. He didn't come for that. He came for something else, but we had extra time in the session. And I said, what else do you want to change? And he said, how about this? And, you know, he noticed an immediate relief from the sciatica that had, you know, it was there for at least a month later. And I assume it's still there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Judy, so this is going to be really weird, and this is the joy of it. I need to hold on 1 second, because I closed the door to my office, and for like the last 5 minutes, I've heard nothing but the cat scratch at the door. So hold on. Come on. I know. Come here. You know, so what we say is that when, you know, what Amy wants, Amy gets.
Yeah, mine are on the other side of the door too.
Not happy being locked out of the office, so I apologize for that for everyone. All right. So follow-up question around the health difference in your clients. Do they mention like the type of, Jennifer, I'm understanding this correctly. So do they mention the type of health benefits that they get as a result of working with you?
Sometimes, you know, clients don't always I always ask them, tell me what you notice that's different. You know, and some people will text me. I've gotten texts of dead bugs from people who had bug phobias. I've gotten all sorts of, you know, the guy that got the new job, he sent me a text. But if it's not somebody I see in an ongoing manner, I don't always know what all the changes are that they're experiencing. They need to, you know, kind of share with me.
Got it. Another question here is, let me see something.
I do know my former husband was able to get rid of seasonal allergies.
Oh, wow. Got it. So how do we handle when your subconscious doesn't know how to handle situations when people ask you how to do something?
I'm not sure I understand the question. When people ask you how to do something.
Yeah, so I'm having a little trouble with this one as well. So Billy, we might need you to rephrase your question, buddy, because it's not really clear. How do we handle when you subconsciously don't know how to handle situations when people ask you how to do something? Yeah, Billy, go ahead and type that one in, okay? Yeah, maybe we can rephrase that a little bit and can ask that. Okay.
Statements. Yeah, the statements that people, you know, we end up with are things that are affirmation style, like first person, present tense, positive statements with the thing in them that you want to be true. Like I've worked with some people who, because I work with a lot of coaches that will send me clients to remove some blocks, and then they go back to the coaches for the coaching programs.
Okay.
And one of the coaches I work with is a relationship coach where her clients are looking to find new romantic relationships. And there've been, I can remember one person, they just had this very sincere belief that there were no eligible men where she lived, in the area where she lived. And of course, she's not going to find anybody if she doesn't think they're there. So we changed it to a statement of there are many, suitable, attractive men for me to meet in this area. And so things like that.
I love it. That's such a great example, because it's clear how that could really be holding somebody back from experiencing the joy in a relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah. And dissolve, people in relationships that aren't going so well, deserving loving, supportive relationships. There's statements like that you do to, it'll either change the dynamics of that relationship, or it'll, you'll find one that is.
No, absolutely. So Judy, as far as a call to action for any of our listeners tonight, what would you like that to be?
Well, on my website, you can book sessions with me. And one of the options is a free 30-minute consult. So if people have specific questions, I'd be glad. It's a phone call. It's free. 30 minutes. You can sign up there, get it scheduled, and I'd be glad to answer questions or just, explain more what I would do with whatever they're particularly interested in.
Great. And we've got your website with the link up there on the screen right now. So if anybody's interested, go ahead, take a screenshot of that or copy it down. You can just go to alignedconsciousness.com and you can find it there at the top of the page as well. So great. All right. Judy, thank you so much.
This was fun. Thank you for having me.
Half an hour, but no, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time tonight and sharing some of your experiences and how people can really break through some of their subconscious self-limiting beliefs to help lead a more optimal life. I really appreciate you sharing your story tonight. Awesome. All right. So everybody, thanks so much again for tuning in. We hope you have a great rest of the week. Stay updated on the Facebook page for more information about next week's guest and time. And until then, Judy, thank you so much again. She is with alignedconsciousness.com. And we wish everybody a great rest of the day. Take care, everybody. Thanks. And Judy, thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everybody. Take care.